Yeah, everyone back again. I'm just going to go over my quick picks for UFC 317 this weekend. I'm going to go through it really quickly, short and sweet, get it done. So, first fight, we've got Nico Price versus Jacoby Smith. Jacoby Smith coming off a win in his last fight at KO over Preston Parsons and a KO on the Contender Series before that. Nico Price has been chinned a few times. His last fight was a decision loss to Femba Garimbo, and before that, he had a win over Alex Morono, and Alex Morono's been on a bit of a slide, hasn't he? So nothing too great about that win. Then a loss to Robbie Lawler before that, and Phil Rowe before that. I feel like Jacoby Smith is going to put Nico's Price away. So that's the first fight. Next fight, you've got Janata Denise versus Alvin Hines. Alvin Hines, another newcomer, coming in with a 7-0 record, but he's not fought anyone near the level, I don't think, of Janata Denise. Denise coming off a loss from Tybura in his last fight via KO, but some good wins before that against some of the lower echelon UFC fighters in the heavyweight division, but definitely fought the high level competition. I think Janata Denise comes from a kickboxing background as well. Hard to say. I'd side with Janata Denise, but I probably won't put a bet on it just because you don't know what these newcomers are going to be like. It's best off just watching them for this fight. Next one, you've got Cedric Dumas versus Jackson McVeigh. Another newcomer, Jackson McVeigh. 6-0 record, and it's a big step up in competition for him. He's been beating guys with 4-1 record, 3-2, 7-13, 1-1, and 2-5. So this is going to be like one of his first real tests, you would say. He might be really good. He might come in and smash the test with flying colours. But Cedric Damas, even though he's had a few losses against really good guys, UFC caliber guys, he's had some wins as well over UFC caliber guys. So I would side with Cedric Damas just because he's got the experience advantage fighting at that level. But you don't know with Jackson McVeigh, like I was saying before. It's hard to say with his debut fighters how well they'll do, but it's going to be a big test for him. I'd probably side with Cedric Damas, but might not put it on. Next fight, Terence McKinney versus Vlashilev Borshev. I can't pronounce his first name still. Terence McKinney, he's kind of a kill or be killed fighter, isn't he? It's either he wins by KO, or he loses by KO, or gets finished. But he got subbed by Sadikov. Last fight, win over Demir Hadzovic, but he's not a great fighter. Esteban Ribovic lost to, he's a really good fighter though. Tom Nolan beat Borshev in his last fight. What a fight that was. Tom Nolan looked really good. I think I picked Tom Nolan in that fight, and he looked really good. Like, I was really impressed with him. A split decision win before that against James Lontop. Lost to Chase Hooper, draw against Sadikov, who looked really good on the weekend. Great fighter. I think if Borshev can just, I think he's got the durability to withstand Terence McKinney and then maybe get the finish or get a decision win. I'm going to side with Borshev in this fight. I think he's the underdog as well. Yeah, especially on Tapology, and I think he might be on the betting odds as well, because I feel like Terence McKinney can get caught and Borshev can crack. He can catch you. So I wouldn't be surprised if Borshev wins that one. Next fight, Vivian Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. I'm gonna side with Tracy Cortez, but I won't be betting on it. I'm sick of getting stung on these women fights. It's just too hard to tell. Yeah, I bet there's probably a strategy where you could bet on every woman's underdog in MMA, and I bet you'd come out um, in profit over the long run, because these favourites, man, they just keep getting beat, don't they? Sorry, we missed a fight after the women's fight, Ida Emil versus Jose Delgado. I think it's going to be a good fight, this one. Delgado's got quite a few knockout wins, but I was impressed with Ida Emil in his last fight. Ida Emil in his last fight looks really, really good against William Gomez, was it? Yeah, split decision. But he landed some really good shots in that, and Gomez is a tricky fighter to beat. So I think it's going to be a tough fight for Delgado, and I can see Idaho winning this one, so I might have a look at that one depending on the odds. Next fight, Jack Hermansson versus Gregory Rodriguez. Hermansson coming off a win over Pfeiffer, that was a year and 4 months ago. Great win. Lost to Delidze before that, and win over Chris Curtis, which is pretty good. Split decision, lost to Strickland, and a win over Shabazian. Gregory Rodriguez coming off that loss to Cannonier. That was a decent fight though. He had his own successes as well. And I went to Christian Leroy, Duncan Brad Tavares before that. I think Gregory Rodriguez is the favourite, but I'm going to side with Jack Hermansson. I think he's got the skills to get it done. He's got the grappling as well. Like Gregory Rodriguez is a good grappler, but remember Jack Hermansson, was it against Ronaldo Souza, who he beat by submission? Yeah, well, a decision, but I know he had a few close submission attempts in that fight, so I'm going to side with Jack Hermansson in that fight. I just think he gets it done. Next fight, Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima. This is an interesting one. I think everyone's going with Lima, thinking that Talbot maybe got fraud checks in his last fight against Jaime Barcelos, but he's been on a tour Barcelos, so you can't really knock him for that loss. He went to decision, but I think he was close to getting finished at some points, weren't he? But Barcelos has been looking good, and that was a big step up in competition for Peyton Talbot. Lima, though, he is really good. He had a close fight with Jonas Magad, though, in Octagon, and I feel like Peyton Talbot's definitely better than Jonas Magad, but then since coming to the UFC, he looks like he's stepped up his level a little bit, Lima, getting that win over Naimov, who looked really good on the weekend, but maybe that was a super short notice fight, and maybe he just got overlooked him. That was a class up as well. I think that was at featherweight, that fight, and then a win over Miles Johns in his last fight. He was a decent fighter, so I think a lot of people are siding with Lima in this one, but I don't know. I think it's closer than people might think it's gonna be. But yeah, he's on a tour in Lima, and I feel like he's probably got the skills to get it done. But I wouldn't be surprised if Peyton Talbot won. So I'd say Lima. I'm not sure if I'll put it on, but because I think Peyton Talbot has a chance in that fight. Next fight, you've got Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Another one where I'm looking at the underdog with Beneil Dariush, because even though he's lost his last two, that's Arman Sarukian and Charles Oliveira, two of the best in the division. A win over Gamrot before that, and then not great winning to Tony Ferguson in a split decision versus Diego Ferreira, but I feel like he's got a good enough ground game, Dariush, and wrestling game where I don't think Moicano's going to be able to control him, and that's where he gets most of his wins, when he can establish that good control. His last fight, obviously, that was a step up. I think they were supposed to be fighting each other, then Moicano stepped up, didn't he, to fight Makhachev. But he didn't put on a great showing in that Moicano, considering everything what was on the line. And I just think Dariush might be a bit too much for Moicano. Another close one. Yeah, Tapology's going with Moicano, but I don't mind the underdog picking Dariush here. Next fight, you've got Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. Joshua Van's on a little bit of a touring at the minute, but I think against the grain here, because I think everyone thinks Van's going to win this, but I feel like Brandon Royval's going to be too much for him. It's a big step up in competition. Brandon Royval's been in there with Brandon Moreno, the champion Pantoja, and Joshua Van, I don't think has been anyone in there with anyone of the level like Brandon Royval, so I think Royval's going to get it done. He's rangy for flyweight as well, Royval, so I don't know if Joshua Van will have the success striking like he's had recently in his last couple of fights, so yeah, I think Royval's going to be tough to beat. If Joshua Van does beat him, though, fair play, stepping in on short notice and beating the number one contender, then you got a star then, haven't you? But I think Brandon Royval is a bit too much too soon for him. Then you got the co-main event, that's Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. Now, Kai Kara France, he's already lost, hasn't he, to Pantoja? That was on the Ultimate Fighter, I think, wasn't it, back in the day? He's coming off a win over Steve Erceg, but a couple of losses before that to Amir Albazi and Brandon Moreno. And I feel like Pantoja is a lot better than Amir Albazi. And if you're losing split decision to Amir Albazi, I just feel like Pantoja's been there. He's felt Kara France's power. And they fought before, and I think he's just going to be too much for Kai Kara France. He's always got that potential to catch Pantoja and put him out because he's got that power, but I feel like Pantoja's going to be too much for him. Then you got the main event, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. I just can't see it any other way than Ilia Topuria winning. He's a massive favourite though, he's like 1-5, so I definitely won't be putting a bet on it because it's just not worth the risk, because I think Charles Oliveira's always got a shot in this fight. But I just feel like Topuria is going to be too much for him. He's putting out a guy like Max Holloway who's never been finished before. And you got Oliveira who's been finished a few times on the feet with headshots and body shots. He's definitely got a chance, Oliveira, but I just think Topuria is written in it for Topuria to win this. He's a superstar, isn't he? So, yeah. Let's have a little quick look at the odds. It annoys me how these are never in order on the betting site as well. But we'll just go through it as it stands like here. So at Hydro Mill underdog, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins. Could potentially put that on. Jack Hermansson to beat Gregory Rodriguez, we'll put that on. I think Renato Diniz will win, but it's tricky to say in it with Alvin Hines, newcomer. Don't know how good he is. What's his ceiling going to be? So we'll leave that off for now. Nico Price, pointless even looking at that fight. Look at the odds, 10-1. Unless I was going Nico Price, but no. Next fight, you got Terence McKinney versus Borshev. I feel like Borshev's a decent underdog though. It's value in putting him on it. Next fight, Vivian Araujo versus Tres Cortez. I'm not even going near it. I would say Cortez, but like I said, it's women's fighting, innit? It'll just piss me off if I put it on and it lets me down like always. Next fight, Royval versus Van. We're going to go Royval. And then we'll go Dariush to beat Moicano. And we'll leave the Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima one off because I'm just not sure in that fight. I think it's closer than people think. And then Pantoja to beat Kai Kara France. So a tenner on that will get you 821 quid. Quite a few underdogs on there. That's 6 fights, so you could chop that up, put it on in trebles maybe. I'll probably put a tenner on it. Just why not? We're due a big win now. We've not had a win for a while, so look at that coming in. I'm going to drop another video later in the week for Cage Warriors on the weekend. Won't be able to stream it because I've got stuff on the weekend, but yeah, I'll be able to do my picks for that. If you're still here and you liked it, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.